breaking this video in half.
Okay, I'm going to try to do the best I can to chronicle the timeline of the events of some of the things in my case. Most of all the things in my case, seeing that this is realistically the baseline from what they have. A timeline before any incidents of things and any beyond that point in time to continue. But before we get to there, I'll have to talk about some features of why the timelines are important in the forms that they are. And again, I will be saying that hopefully you will see the change in rate to just the natural standard of things into potentially a situation where things are a little different when you do find about it. You know, that's one of those things. And you'll see it inside of the timeline roughly thereof. So this must have been, so that's the 13th, this is the 14th, which is this date right here. Hopefully we can get lined up, get the AC/DC going. And this is a freedom. This was my page at the time. I'll try my best to specify when I've had friends, when I didn't have friends, and when any active history changes may have been presented, which should come on this line. Maybe not in the timeline of events for this date, but between the dates that are being described and necessary for the case of awareness of it getting into the paper November 14th, these 2 days right here, and when I was arrested. Right, because that's what we're going to say this incident is based upon. And specifically the ad in the paper, or a specific post of mine, which we'll get into when we get to it, of a terroristic threat that may make me a Class C felon, remove my rights to ever own guns, remove my right to ever vote, remove my right to ever have the ability to go to a town meeting and complain and offer suggestions as far as complaint forms and video logging systems to better timestamp these models that are free, easy, and cheap. And what that may mean in terms of some of the constitutional matters that may be under discretion at this moment in time. Some of the features I might argue are things, the First Amendment violations, to be arrested and use authoritarian control against what the model is. I'll have to go through it slowly. I'm going to go through this slowly so that way at some point in time, maybe the next video, you can actually stop and pause and go through any of these and all of these that you want instead of having to rip my actual timeline. Maybe for me, representing myself, maybe for any lawyer that has to represent me. And as far as the public and the world at large, my life. Inside of here, we are going to talk about the features of an application and some of the business practices and waste and fraud that had happened in my case in terms of some of the prejudice necessary for the Sixth Amendment forms that may be violated with a conflict of interest case that is necessary to this model, not only once, but twice, in terms of some of the models, in my plenty qualified ability to go through certain cases or models or any other form that's going to say who's going to have to be able to represent me or form in here so we can get the proper triangulation and get the proper A, B's, and C's necessary here to reference what would be a fair jury selection, who would those models be, as much as whether it would even matter to me in that selection. Choose anybody you'd like and argue that on the 7th. I feel it's a bit aithy, but we will talk about what was actually violated in a fair manner of what's being allowed to be brought to the table and used in the rules of order. So let me begin firstly with a timeline that I've created shorthand. On October 30th, ad in the paper. I took the ads of the picture